Hey, Key there, Am I Rich? And today we're going to do a little thought experiment. And this thought experiment is about 3D printed homes versus traditional homes and how that's going to change the cost structure of housing and investing in housing. So, generally, if you look at house websites about 3D printed homes or news articles, you're going to see things saying, oh, they built this house in a day for $4,000, or they built this house for $10,000, or they're building a whole community and it's going to be super, super cheap. And I've seen estimates saying that 3D printing homes is going to reduce housing prices to 1/10 of the current price, which is amazing. I mean, that's going to be super cheap, and that's going to be a huge change in the way we think about housing. So, but if you look into it a little further, I found a little bit of an interesting kind of thing about this. And I have a 3D printer at home, so I also thought I have a little bit of experience 3D printing. I'm not a guru or anything, but I've seen that there's limitations, and these limitations really should be thought about until the technology gets better. So just looking at a really quick breakdown, if you were to buy like an average home, now these numbers are fictitious, they're not exactly any specific area, but hopefully they're ballpark close enough that you get the point. A classic home, if the construction price was $150,000 for it, then these cheap prices, if you could get 1/10 of that price, you could print a house for as low as $15,000 for your single detached home. Now the houses that they tout that are 4,000 or 10,000, these are very small houses. I mean, these are basically like a public washroom kind of building or something. They're very small. So 15,000 is probably more realistic if you can get to that 1/10 of a price. Now, but is that realistic? Well, 3D printing homes, if you watch videos on them, you typically see what they actually do is just print the walls in the building. They're not doing the flooring, they're not doing necessarily the ceiling. They may do the ceiling, but mostly walls, no doors, no windows, no interior design or carpet or anything like that. So if you think about it that way, if an average house costs $150,000, but the framing, which is very cheap, or maybe cinder block construction, a little bit cheaper, you're really looking at something that gets there's a few other aspects that you can replace with 3D printing, but the price really probably goes down more like 20 to 30% if all goes well. So I put an average price here of $110,000 for construction, and that might be better, a better estimate for what 3D printing technology of homes will be in the near future, or is close to at the moment. Now, that said, even if you look at the 3D printers now, some of them are very expensive technology to bring into the construction site. And once they're there, you need specialized people running these machines, and if something goes wrong, well, you could print half the building, and if something goes wrong halfway through the print, suddenly you need to demolish that whole wall or maybe the whole house and start over again. So it's easy to see this technology in the next couple of years still being in that $150,000 plus range. So it's really for maybe niche products or projects now. And the technology will get better, and some of them will probably print cheaper, but there will also be times when they print and something goes wrong. And basically, if you did this on a big scale, like many construction companies are using this technology, you might end up with housing, at least at the beginning, being the same price as it was before. But that said, now when it comes to investing, the other part of the price of housing comes from location. So when it comes to location, maybe the average location, let's say it's 25% of the value. In that case, a $150,000 home with the property would be like $200,000 for example. So if you could print the house for much cheaper, then you're looking at $160,000 for the same land with a house that's printed. Now, if you could get the land for free, obviously it's a huge difference. But if you're looking at like you're looking at 1/10 the price, maybe you're looking at, maybe 80% of the price if it's 3D printed on average. And then if you're looking at, very expensive realty, like downtown Hong Kong, Vancouver, New York, something like that, you could end up, in the $1 million property, like land property value. in which case you're probably going to see a very minor price difference. So if you had like a $1.5 million house, you know, where $1.35 million is the price of the land, then the only difference, it would be still like $1.46 million or something like that if you were to 3D print it. So very negligible compared to if you had free land. So how does this affect investment? Well, the way I see it, now I'm not an investment guru on housing or real estate, so feel free to comment and correct or add to this kind of thought experiment. But basically, I would look at it as if you were to buy a property. Now you can leverage the money that you put into it so you get a better return. But if you were to get a renter, just, you know, hypothetical scenario where you get a perfect renter that continues to pay for the mortgage, then if you were to buy like a $200,000 home and that mortgage is being paid off, you probably get 4% a year back towards you. And so if you get a 4% back a year, I mean, there's a lot more numbers. You're looking at interest rates and all these things, but just for simplicity's sake, then in 10 years, you could expect to pay off the house by 40%, roughly. So then say if the assets, like the building costs were 75%, then, and 25% was the land price, then now you have a price, you know, so it was $200,000 and now you've paid down 40%, so it's $120,000. So what you've gained is, on your money, you've gained 40% plus any capital appreciation. So if that price has gone up, you gain the money from that price of, you know, the land just going up, or if somebody likes that location or house. So that's a decent return in 10 years, I guess, 40% plus, you know. It's usually leverage, it's usually, there's other aspects to it, and plus if you ever pay it off, you've got that property for free, and then if there's an asset appreciation, you get even more. So it's kind of a different way of investing. But if you look at what happens if 3D printing technology takes off, then say the average house price with, you know, very similar to nowadays technology, you're looking at maybe $160,000 for the value of the home in 10 years when the technology finally kind of becomes more useful. So now you've paid up, you bought it for $200,000 and you've paid it off to $120,000 owing, but now it's only worth $160,000. And so now you've only made 25% and you have, you know, a very illiquid asset, like your money's stuck in this home, and you might have to deal with bad renters. So then it really becomes a matter of like the location. So I think the way to look at this is you'd only gain 25%. There's also the aspect of asset or price improvement from the location, like whether your house appreciation goes up or not. If you look at traditional, there's like the Swiss out there that did some records from, maybe they have the longest real estate records. And they say the house prices go up about 1% per year on average. Now, in more modern times, it's gone up a lot more than that. You know, sometimes it's gone up 10% per year, which is, you know, amazing. And if you buy it at the right time or you buy it really underpriced, you can do it really well. So, but in the future, if house prices, the manufacturing cost keeps going down, only land value can really push it up. And I would guess that if people can get housing for a lot cheaper, they're going to start pushing back and say, well, why would I buy a new home or an old home in a good location when I can just print a new home, you know, buy the land somewhere nearby, or, you know. So I would see, you know, very good locations would probably maintain their value, but other locations would probably see like at least a flat or decline in their price, I would think. Now, I could be wrong, you feel free to discuss, but in that case, you know, it's a lot riskier of an investment, and so is it worth it? That's really like the key here. Yeah, so I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think 3D printing houses will ever take off? Do you think it'll just be printing park benches? Do you think investing in a house is the way to go these days with 3D printing coming online? I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think. Feel free to leave comments. Other than that, again, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you in the next video.